and welcome to the NESN Patriots podcast. I'm Doug Kai, joined as always by Zach Cox, not joined as always by Tom Brady, no longer a member of the New England Patriots. He announced it on, Tuesday now that he was not returning?
Tuesday morning, yeah.
Tuesday morning, and then he is joining the Bucs. It's not official yet, but all reports indicate that Tom Brady is going to Tampa Bay. So big changes next season for the New England Patriots. Let's first unpack the fact that Tom Brady will not be a member of the New England Patriots next season. And it still sounds very strange to say that. And I feel like it's going to probably take months to get used to that. I might not even be used to it by September when the Patriots are actually playing games again without Tom Brady at quarterback.
Yeah, this was something that I guess didn't come or shouldn't have come as a major shock, just given the way everything had transpired over the previous few days and weeks and months and even years. I mean, going back to their contract negotiations a couple of years back, it all kind of seemed to be coming to a head that there was a good chance that Tom Brady is no longer going to be on the Patriots. But when it actually happened, when I read that announcement from Brady Tuesday morning, it did surprise me more than it should have, I guess, just given everything that's been going on. The fact that he is not coming back to the Patriots next year. And then the fact that he's going most likely to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is just mind-blowing, honestly. Like, this is, if you had asked somebody 6 months ago or even a couple of weeks ago what the chances are of Tom Brady playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020, they would have been in my probably bottom 5 teams ahead of maybe only the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Like, this is an unprecedented situation to have Tom Brady go from the situation he has here in New England to now go down to a Buccaneers team that hasn't really been relevant in 25 years. I mean, basically since right. that one blip of a couple of years with Tony Dungy and Mike Allstott and Warwick Dunn. Other than that, they've been basically a zero franchise. No offense to them, but yes, that is where Tom Brady will be playing his football next year, which means they are no longer a zero franchise. We'll see a whole lot of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in primetime next year, which is still crazy to say.
There's a lot to unpack here. And just the fact that Brady made the announcement that he was not coming back before it seems like he even made his decision as to where he was going next was not something that I anticipated. In retrospect, now it makes sense that that's the way that Brady handled it, that he broke away from the Patriots, and then later on he made his decision, and then just everyone had to kind of handle the fact that he wasn't coming back first and then deal with the fact of where he was going next. But just right after he made that announcement, Robert Kraft spoke to a lot of different media entities and essentially put the blame on Tom Brady, said that, this was Tom Brady's choice to leave. If he wanted to come back, then we would have made it work. And I think that sort of the intent that Robert Kraft had with that, it had the opposite reaction with a lot of people, because it was so transparent of what Robert Kraft was doing and saying that everyone then in turn was like, okay, no, this was not Tom Brady's doing, this was the Patriots doing. But I think that there is sort of a middle ground here as to whether it was the Patriots to blame for Brady leaving or Brady to blame for Brady leaving, because the Patriots clearly could have done more. They could have offered Tom Brady more money. They could have given him more respect, the admiration that he was looking for, all of those different things. At the same time, Robert Kraft isn't lying. I think that Tom Brady could have come back. He probably would have had to eat his pride a little bit, maybe take a below market deal, but that's what Tom Brady has been praised for throughout all of these years, for taking below market deals, for, being just one of the other guys on the Patriots roster. And he had grown sick and tired of that. So I don't know if there's maybe you can blame the Patriots slightly more than Tom Brady, because in all reality, they probably should have been giving Tom Brady the respect that he deserves throughout all these years. But at the same time, like I said, Robert Kraft isn't lying. Tom Brady could have come back, and he chose to leave before even deciding on his next destination.
Yeah, that was the most surprising thing to me as well. And part of what sort of goes into why I know you wrote a column, like an immediate reaction column, on why it seems like Tom Brady's making a mistake. And the fact that he didn't leave the Patriots for someone. He didn't choose the Bucs over the Patriots. He didn't choose the Chargers over the Patriots. He didn't choose whoever over the Patriots. He chose not the Patriots over the Patriots. So he chose to leave New England and then made a decision with the offers that were out there, which according to all reports, the only legitimate offers out there were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Chargers. So it was basically okay, which of these do I prefer better? I don't know. That's a tough decision to make after spending so much time with one franchise and being so successful with one franchise. But I agree with you that the blame can't go completely to either side. And it was very transparent. I mean, I was surprised that we didn't see Robert Kraft on like Good Morning America or something.
Right.
Like he was basically, he was doing everything he could to spread the Patriots spin of this whole story. And he wasn't lying. I'm sure there was a way that this could have worked out if Tom Brady was agreeable to it. But I think this goes all the way back to a couple of years ago. I think it was, what was it, after the 2017 season, where his contract adjustment was him just getting $5 million in incentives that would have been very, very difficult for him to hit. In order to hit those incentives, he would have needed to have the best season of his entire career after just having the best season potentially of his entire career. So
Patriots went run heavy that year too.
Yeah. And that was basically where I think a lot of this contractual stuff kind of started bubbling up over. That was it's easy to view that as a disrespectful move to a franchise icon. And then obviously last year they weren't able to come to terms on a legitimate extension. And then according to the reports, it sounds like there weren't even really any substantial contract talks this offseason. It was just Brady waiting for the Patriots to come with an offer and the Patriots waiting for Brady to come with an offer. And then Brady was eventually like, all right, no, I'm just going to go, which seems like such an anticlimactic end to one of the greatest sporting tenures in American sports history. It's just such a weird way for him to go out. I understand it from to an extent of wanting to be treated like the franchise icon that he is, but it seems, I don't know, petty it's much too strong of a word, but it just seems like differences that these sides should have been able to work out.
It feels like neither side was really seeing the forest for the trees in this situation where, I mean, it really feels like it wouldn't have taken that much to get Tom Brady back here for a year or 2 or 3 or whatever it would have been to finish out his career. I think that ultimately would have been better for the Patriots to bring Brady back. I think that it probably will wind up having been a better case for Brady too. I mean, you're looking at right now, he needs to either learn a new offense or install his own system with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he can't even get in the building right now. Players are banned from being in a team's facility. Maybe he can, get a private jet and get he and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and some of his new teammates in the building, but he can't even really talk to Bruce Arians for a while because of CBA restrictions. So there's a lot of inhibitors here for Tom Brady to actually start fast with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has no idea if there's going to be an offseason workout program. We don't know if Tom Brady will even participate in an offseason workout program because that's not what he was doing with the Patriots over the last couple of years. So, and even training camp or the preseason, those types of things can be shortened because of what's going on with the coronavirus. So I don't know. We'll see how it all goes for Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going into a good situation as far as weapons are concerned and an offensive play caller is concerned with Bruce Arians, but there's just so many other factors in play. With the Patriots, I'm writing this in the mailbag for tomorrow, and because a lot of people have wondered if the Patriots are now going for a full rebuild now that Tom Brady's gone. They've lost some other linebackers like Jamie Collins and Kyle Van Noy. The answer is no. They're never going to do a full rebuild. That's simply not in Bill Belichick's DNA. And I think that they do feel like they can still win without Tom Brady. And it's not crazy to think that. Like I said, I'm writing this in the mailbag for tomorrow. But last season, the Patriots ranked 17th in passer rating. They ranked 8th in passing yards. They ranked 16th in passing touchdowns. They ranked 24th in completion percentage and 21st in yards per attempt. And they still won 11. They still won 12 games last season, despite all of that. And I'm not saying that Tom Brady was to blame for the passing deficiencies that the Patriots had last season, but the Patriots did prove last season that they could still win 12 games, despite the fact that they were at best an average passing offense last season. So if you get the offensive line back in place, if you get some better offensive weapons there, it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that Jarrett Stidham or whoever the Patriots bring in next season could rank 24th in completion percentage and 21st in yards per passing attempt and meet all of those other, stats that Tom Brady had last season. They need to build up the team otherwise. But the fact that the Patriots were able to win last season like they were, despite the fact that they were at best an average passing attack, proves to me that they can probably do the same thing, whether it is Jarrett Stidham or Andy Dalton or Cam Newton or someone else there at quarterback next season.
Yeah, I think people already writing off this Patriots season, that's just kind of premature panic. I mean, people do that every offseason, basically, even the ones that Tom Brady doesn't leave in. And obviously
Right.
this situation this is a more significant situation than the Patriots losing like 2 or 3 receivers and a defensive tackle or whatever. So this is definitely going to be Bill Belichick's most difficult coaching job and kind of team construction job in a very long time. We'll say that. But I do agree that there is a very good chance that the Patriots could be, if not Super Bowl contenders, at least competitive for a playoff spot this year. 2 things they're going to have to do, though. They need to build up the defense. The defense was a major reason why the Patriots were able to succeed with Tom Brady and the whole passing offense not looking anywhere close to what it has in their top years. They've lost a lot of talent already on that side of the ball. I mean, you mentioned a couple of names: Jamie Collins, Kyle Van Noy, Landon Roberts, Danny Shelton, Daron Harmon, all gone from there. You can say that Roberts is kind of a complimentary piece there because he didn't really play much on defense, but the rest of those guys all played major roles on defense. The linebacking core was a real strength of this team this year. It allowed them to do a lot of different things that they weren't able to do in previous years, having guys like Collins and Van Noy and Dante Hightower who are able to move all around the field. They don't have that right now. Right now, it's basically just Dante Hightower and Juwan Bentley at linebacker, plus Chase Winovich and John Simon on the edges. That's a much, much, much shallower group than they had last year. They do still have a very good secondary, even without Daron Harmon in there, so that should help them. But they're really going to need to build up that linebacking core or that defensive line. I'm interested to see whether this prompts any kind of scheme change, whether they go back to more of a 4-3, or kind of switch it altogether to something that we haven't really seen in a while. That's all going to depend on personnel a lot. And number 2 is tight end. They need a tight end. I think their receiving core is actually not terrible right now. It's especially
it's fine. Yeah.
The fact, like, I honestly think Tom Brady leaving is going to improve this receiving core, as weird as that sounds, as long as the guy who replaces him is competent. Like, I think whoever comes in there is going to have, especially if it is Jarrett Stidham, is going to have a better connection with N'Keal Harry, is going to have a better connection with Jacoby Myers, is going to be more open to kind of getting these guys involved. The Julian Edelman connection is a different story. That might really take a hit without Tom Brady in there. But right now they don't have anybody at tight end. Basically, they have Matt Lacoste and Ryan Izzo. I'm assuming they'll pick up at least 1 or 2 of these free agents and then probably another guy in the draft. A big thing that's probably holding that up right now is the fact that the top 3 guys there, Eric Ebron, Tyler Eifert, Delaney Walker, all have injury concerns. Ebron's coming off of ankle surgery, which I had actually forgotten about until earlier this week. And then Walker and Eifert have obviously dealt with a lot of injuries over the years. So those are things that, with the whole physical situation with the coronavirus, they might get pushed down the line a little bit. It might be a while before we actually get some resolution to this Patriots tight end thing. But in my mind, where we currently sit with this team, those are the 2 really big needs to address.
For sure. And as far as the defensive scheme change goes, they could either, move on to more of a 4-3, which depends on fewer linebackers, or they could just really lean into the whole 3-4 thing and have Dante Hightower and Juwan Bentley at inside linebacker, and then John Simon and Chase Winovich there at outside linebacker, and then, Bo Allen, Lawrence Guy, Adam Butler there in the middle. Obviously, they do need to add some pieces. I think that, potentially even that first-round pick could be either a defensive lineman, a linebacker, or an edge player. The one that a lot of people are looking at is Wisconsin's Zach Bond, who could sort of fill a similar role to either Kyle Van Noy or Jamie Collins. But certainly they do need to add some pieces there on their front seven. It certainly helps that they're still loaded in their secondary despite trading Duron Harmon. Their top 6 players at that position are still extremely strong, with Stephon Gilmore, J.C. Jackson, Jonathan Jones, Jason McCourty, Devin McCourty, and Patrick Chung. They've got some depth options in there as well. Jawan Williams, who was a second-round pick last year. But in order to win as many games as they did last season without Tom Brady, they do need to now build up, whether that is in the receiving core, a tight end, at quarterback, somewhere else. Let's talk about quarterback a little bit. Personally, to me, I think the Patriots should just go with Jarrett Stidham. See what he has, bring in some other depth veteran option. But for me, Andy Dalton is one guy that people have talked about. He's available via trade. And what's his cap hit? Like $17 million?
That would have to get dropped significantly.
He would probably have to get released for it to make sense for the Patriots to bring him in. Otherwise, I can't see the Bengals eating that much cap space. Another option that a lot of people are into is Jacoby Brissett. The big appeal with him is that he knows the offense, which will certainly help with some of the restrictions over the coronavirus. But he's another guy who's making double-digit $1 million when, I mean, for me personally, watching Jarrett Stidham in the preseason and training camp this season was better than I ever saw Jacoby Brissett play in a Patriots uniform. And granted, Brissett was not around for very long, but we did see a second offseason out of Jacoby Brissett. He had the great 4th preseason game against the Giants, but otherwise not a very impressive player during training camp practices or otherwise in the preseason.
Yeah,
so
Jacoby Brissett.
You're talking about Stidham could wind up being better than Jacoby Brissett. And otherwise, you're paying guys a bunch of money, potentially like Jameis Winston or Cam Newton. None of these guys are guarantees. So personally, I would wait, see how the market unfolds. You can bring in a quarterback in June or in May. It wouldn't disrupt the compensatory draft pick formula. And it really only just drops the prices of those players by that point. I don't think it would really interrupt the offseason workout program, which is going to get delayed anyway.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett was not very good from everything that we were able to watch with the Patriots in his 2 years here. And obviously was not very good with the Indianapolis Colts last year. But no, I think the best course of action, especially with all of the coronavirus things that we've been talking about, where, excuse me, it's going to be weeks, if not months, before teams can even get together to practice. If there's even a offseason program at all, at this point, it kind of seems like they might just scrap it and wait until training camp, maybe extend training camp a little bit. I don't know there are obviously a bunch of different ways they can go with that. But I agree that I think Jarrett Stidham looks like their best option right now. They need to bring in someone. They need to bring in a quarterback who has proven that he can be an NFL quarterback.
Right.
Just because who knows if you actually put Stidham into a real game and he just can't handle it for whatever reason. Right. You need some sort of insurance policy there. I guess you could say that Cody Kessler is kind of that insurance policy, but I think it's worthwhile bringing in another veteran quarterback, a low-cost veteran quarterback who could at least kind of, if Stidham struggles this summer and they just don't feel like he's ready in week one, then you can put in, I mean, who's out there right now? I'm looking through this list of free agents from Evan Silva, who's
wild behind us right
now. Yeah, Harambe is causing a scene back there. But so this list of free agents from Evan Silva over at Establish the Run, which has been a really good resource. So he lists out everybody. So the available quarterbacks in free agency right now are Jameis Winston, which I can't see happening both from a cost perspective and from a interception happy perspective. And then other than that, you really get down for free agent options, at least you get down to guys like Matt Moore, Brandon Allen, Colt McCoy, Blake Bortles, Brett Hundley, Trevor Siemian, Geno Smith, Blaine Gabbert, Mike Glennon. So not a lot of great names on that list. I wouldn't hate the idea of bringing in Bortles if they can get him for cheap.
They should. I mean,
he's probably the
$1 last year.
Yeah, and he hardly played as the backup out in LA. I think he's probably the most desirable name on that list, I would say. And obviously there are some trade possibilities as well, but it does seem like their best course of action at the moment is kind of Stidham as plan A, and then have some contingency plans in there behind him.
Yeah, it seems like the Patriots are going to be patient about this. And like I said earlier, I think that's really the smartest move that they can take because, quite honestly, who's going to trade for Andy Dalton? There's no team out there that desperately needs a quarterback where Andy Dalton would be an improvement. And with the salary the way that it is currently right now, I feel like they probably either just wind up keeping him as insurance behind Joe Burrow, or just wind up releasing him. Because like I said, I can't really imagine a trade partner there. And really the same thing goes for Cam Newton. I mean, it's kind of amazing that we've gotten to this point with Cam Newton, but there's really no team other than maybe the Chargers where he would come in and be the undisputed top dog there. And he's a guy who's dealt with a lot of injury issues over the past. So I think that he's absolutely a player where before a trade is actually consummated, a team would have to take him through a physical, which it really complicates matters a little further when it is a trade rather than a free agent signing in that retrospect. So I don't know. I think that waiting on either Jameis, Cam Newton, Andy Dalton, one of those guys to simply get released, or like you said, bringing in a guy like Blake Bortles, who, I mean, say what you will about Blake Bortles, but he did prove that if you build a team around him, he could take a team to the playoffs. It happened with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you have to have a really, really, really good team around a player like that. But at least he has proven that he can start in the NFL and win some games. And if the Patriots get him back on a deal like he had last year with the Rams, where it was basically 1 year, $1 million, that's really what they should be looking for right now, not guys who cost double-digit $1 million like the names that we're mentioning with Andy Dalton or Jacoby Brissett or someone else.
No, I would agree with that. And it seems like the crop of those type of players is quickly shrinking to the point where those are kind of the only three. It's basically Jameis, Dalton, Newton, and Brissett are kind of the only names that are still sort of floating around in that big money trade / free agency market. So yeah, it's definitely seems like the Patriots path is getting a little bit clearer at this point, even though we don't know who that other veteran's going to be.
This is apropos of nothing, but it popped up on my Twitter feed. Adam Schefter just tweeted out, Bucs agree to terms with wide receiver Bryant Mitchell on a 1-year deal per source. This is as close as I've ever come to not believing that a player exists. I have zero idea who Bryant Mitchell is.
I think he played in like the late 90s. Was he like the Penn State guy?
I think he was like a defensive tackle on the 49ers or something like that. But I mean, that's the point that we've gotten to with free agency. And I do find it pretty fascinating, actually, that Patriots free agents are being scooped up at the speed that they are. There's almost no free agents left from the Patriots. It's guys like Marshall Newhouse and James Ferentz and Phillip Dorsett. Everyone else, I mean, I certainly did not expect Nate Ebner to get scooped up on the second day of free agency, especially with everything that's going on with the coronavirus and players not able to take visits and everything like that. But these guys are getting scooped up super quickly by teams that know the Patriots very well, like the Detroit Lions, the Miami Dolphins, and the New York Giants. But I don't know. Obviously, it puts an impetus on the Patriots to fill in for those guys. But it's an interesting offseason where we are seeing way more turnover than we're used to seeing. And one of the few guys that the Patriots are bringing back, Joe Tunney, was a guy that none of us expected the Patriots to re-sign in the first place.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And to add to that, according to our buddy Mark Daniels, the Pats, there's still a chance that Phillip Dorsett could return to the Patriots. They're still in contact with him. And he's another guy that we both pretty much expected him to be gone elsewhere too. So that would be pretty funny if Joe Tunney and Phillip Dorsett both end up coming back and all of these other guys leave. But it's been a pretty remarkable trend, as you alluded to, this offseason with these Patriots free agents. I mean, so far, 8 Patriots free agents have either agreed to terms or, in Tom Brady's case, are expected to agree to terms with teams who aren't the Patriots. And Brady is the only one in that group who has not joined a team that's coached by a recent former Patriots assistant. I mean, You've got Miami scooped with Brian Flores, scooped up Kyle Van Noy, Ted Karras, Landon Roberts. Matt Patricia in Detroit got Jamie Collins and Danny Shelton, also traded for Duron Harmon. And then, as you mentioned, Nate Ebner just went to Joe Judge and the Giants. So it's it's a pretty clear Patriots pipeline. Looking at the rosters of the Dolphins and the Lions, it's incredible. I mean, 24 players from those two teams, 14 on the Lions, 10 on Miami, have passed through our former Patriots, which is just, I mean, everybody talks about how the Patriots, how the Patriots will have to compete with free agents with teams coached by their former assistants because they look for a lot of the same things. And this is really proof of that. I mean, basically their entire kind of approach this offseason has just been like, guy played for the Patriots, bring him in. I mean, that's simplifying it a little bit because Brian Flores has made a bunch of other kind of big name moves, or the Miami Dolphins have. But yeah, it's really hurting the Patriots' chances of re-signing a lot of their own free agents. I'm sure when you've got these other teams out there that are looking for the exact same thing.
Joe Tunney signed his franchise tag here on Thursday morning, which certainly is interesting. That means that, I mean, his cap hit was already on the books, but this means that the Patriots can now trade Joe Tunney. They wouldn't really have to work with Tunney to trade him now at this point. He's on the Patriots roster, so he's made himself now basically available to be traded. But the Patriots need to figure something out with Joe Tunney because he's currently taking up almost $15 million worth of cap space. And that's a whole lot of money that could be freed up either through an extension or a trade. I think that at this point, the best move would probably be to sign Joe Tunney to an extension. Given all the other players that the Patriots have lost, you don't necessarily now want to add left guard onto all of the other needs that they have. Granted, they do have some potential fill-ins on their roster, and Yelda Froholt and Yadnik Just could move over to guard. They could draft a player at that position, might not wind up costing that much. But I think the Patriots basically just have to assess the market at this point and say, okay, is there a free agent players that we met, or the positions that we mentioned in the past, wide receiver, tight end, or linebacker, who would be a better use of that money? Is there a player via trade that we could acquire, maybe even throwing Joe Tunney into that mix at wide receiver, tight end, or linebacker? Or is the best use of that money to sign Joe Tunney to an extension? Because really keeping him on that almost $15 million franchise tag, I don't think can be looked at as an option at this point. It's just way too much money, especially when you take into consideration that right guard Shaq Mason is also eating up almost $9 million worth of cap space. So then you're talking about $25 million just in your guard. So I think that that's a way that the Patriots need to open up some cap space. And I think that there's some other moves as well. I think that you're talking about either extensions, trades, or releases for players like kicker Stephen Gostkowski, right tackle Marcus Cannon, linebacker Dante Hightower. I think they have to keep him at this point, but his cap hit is pretty exorbitant and he's getting up there in age. So I think that those are three guys. There's potentially more like Mohamed Sanu who could be in that mix as well, but there's ways for the Patriots to open up cap space. And if they do want to start making moves, I think they have to start making some of those tough decisions with those players.
Yeah, Rex Burkhead's another guy that I would throw in there. I mean, his cap hit's only 3-point-something million, so it wouldn't be too significant. But no, I totally agree with Tunney. I think it's very unlikely that they're going to enter this season paying their left guard that much money, especially when they're already paying Shaq Mason a 8-point-something cap hit this year. It seems like something will get done from that perspective. I was also interesting this morning to see the report from Jeff Howe that Devin McCourty's contract extension is actually a 5-year extension with 3 voidable years, which
I think Miguel from Pat's Cap actually already knew that.
Oh, I didn't know.
So the cap figure that he has actually takes that into consideration. He's got the Patriots looking at it right now, $7.4 million, but that does not account for Bo Allen or Demir Berg. So
gotcha. All right. Well, I was
probably still around like $4 million.
Miguel is on top of his stuff with this cap stuff. I was not aware of that. I thought that
wasn't either.
I thought they might have been able to kind of bump that number up a little bit with the structure of McCourty's deal, but apparently they are still at that 7 point whatever number, which obviously not very much room to work with when you still have this many holes to fill on this team.
For sure. Well, I think that will do it for this week's NESN Patriots podcast. If anything else crazy happens, we will be back here to do another podcast. But Can't really imagine anything crazier than Tom Brady leaving the team for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers happening over the next few days. But we'll keep you updated on all of the Patriots moves, non-moves, everything that's going on NESN.com. Follow Zach on Twitter at ZachCoxNESN. That's ZACK CoxNESN. Follow me on Twitter at Doug Tide. Like I said, keep it on NESN.com for all of your Patriots coverage. We'll be on top of everything that's going on.